Welcome to the Technical Writing Success Podcast from Curt Robbins, where we help you get smarter than your competition. This is episode 185.
I'm your host, Fred Jones.
And I'm Daphne Blake. It's great to be here. So today we're unpacking a piece of writing that really tackles the elephant in the room, or maybe I should say the robot in the room.
Right.
We're looking at an article titled Vibe Writing, the case for rigorous human-machine collaboration. It's by an author named Tim Moon, and it was published on his Substack on January 9th, 2026.
And it's not just another how-to guide for AI prompting. It's really more of a philosophical argument about how we work.
It kicks off with an image that, honestly, I think a lot of us might recognize, even if we don't want to admit it. Moon describes someone right now, somewhere, writing with AI, but in secret.
In the closet about it.
Exactly. Not telling their boss, not telling their team, treating it like, a guilty habit.
Yeah, and he makes this really crucial point that they aren't hiding it because they lack integrity or because they're doing a bad job. They're hiding it because they're afraid of the stigma, this fear of being called a cheat, even when they feel like the tool is making them better or faster.
It really humanizes the whole thing. We tend to picture, a lazy student trying to get out of an essay.
Right.
But he's talking about professionals who feel like they have to hide their workflow.
Which sets up his main thesis perfectly. He basically argues we need to stop looking at AI as a shortcut.
Like a cheat code.
Exactly, like a cheat code in a video game. And instead, start seeing it as a new form of the absolute oldest way humans learn anything.
Which is mentorship and modeling.
You got it.
He calls the method vibe writing, and we are definitely going to get into the nuts and bolts of that because I think it has huge implications for technical writers. But the foundation of his argument starts with a personal story.
It does. It's a really good one.
So Moon takes us back to when he was a broke college student. And the context here really matters. He had a GED, came from a tough background, and basically had nowhere to go. So he ends up crashing with his uncle for a year.
And the timing of this, it's just wild. It was the year Mount St. Helens erupted.
Which was only about 100 miles away from them, ash literally falling from the sky.
And on top of that, it was a chaotic presidential election year. Yeah. So you've got this backdrop of, geological and political instability.
And in the middle of all this, there's the uncle, a journalist who Moon says knew something about everything.
We've all met that kind of SME, right? The walking encyclopedia.
Oh, yeah. But here's the crucial part for our listeners. Moon didn't learn to write because his uncle sat him down for, grammar drills?
No, they weren't diagramming sentences at the kitchen table.
No, they were just talking. Debating geology, the economy, why the volcano blew its top.
And Moon says he learned to write by listening to his uncle think. That's the phrase that just stuck with me.
Me too.
He was watching how his uncle built an argument in real time, how he would qualify a strong claim so it wasn't reckless, which for a technical writer is, that's everything.
Right. You don't just say the system works. You have to specify the conditions under which it works.
He calls it thinking made visible.
That's a great phrase.
It is. When you're around an expert, their internal process becomes external. You're not just being taught rules, you're modeling their behavior.
And this is where he makes the pivot to AI, because the reality is most people, whether they're students or junior tech writers on their first API doc, they don't have a brilliant journalist uncle to crash with.
That's the equity piece of the argument. Moon says that for people without that built-in mentorship, AI can sort of step into that role.
Yeah.
He uses this great metaphor about AI putting Aristotle or Einstein at the dinner table.
Okay, but I have to play devil's advocate here for a second. Aristotle was, human. AI is a predictive text engine. He isn't saying the AI is your uncle, right?
No, and he's very, very careful about that distinction. He admits AI has no soul, doesn't care if you succeed, but it can model expert thinking at scale. If you're stuck on how to structure a troubleshooting guide, the AI can show you 3 different ways an expert might organize that information. It kind of democratizes the apprenticeship model.
So it's less do this work for me and more show me how a senior writer would approach this.
Exactly. That's the difference between plagiarism and pedagogy.
But even with that distinction, there is just massive cultural pushback. I see it on LinkedIn every single day. People are angry.
Oh, yeah. Moon calls this the bootstrap fallacy.
I love that.
It's a big one. This idea we have, this really romanticized myth of the lone writer.
The genius in the attic, struggling with the blank page until inspiration strikes.
Yes, the idea that writing has to be this solitary struggle. that if you aren't suffering at the keyboard, it somehow doesn't count.
But in our line of work, technical communication, that has literally never been true.
Never. I mean, think about it. When did you ever publish documentation entirely by yourself? You have SMEs, you have editors, you have product managers. Writing is, and always has been, collaborative.
So Moon is arguing the anti-AI thing is what, really about gatekeeping?
Largely, yeah. He says in the professional world, writing is a filter. It's a sorting mechanism. If you can write clearly, you get access to better jobs. And he suggests people are suspicious of any tool that redistributes that advantage.
He has that line about defending difficulty rather than depth.
That really hit home for me. We confuse the struggle of the work with the quality of the work.
So true. Just because something was hard to write doesn't mean it's good. A user doesn't care if you suffered for 3 days on a paragraph. They just want to know how to install the software.
Exactly. The user cares about the result. But, to be fair, Moon does admit that lazy AI use leads to a flattened voice. And we've all seen it.
We are thrilled to announce.
Right. But his counterpoint is that, humans were writing boring, flattened text long before ChatGPT came along. Mediocrity isn't new.
That is undeniably true. So the issue isn't the tool, it's the intent. It's how you use it.
It's how we collaborate with it. Which brings us to his actual method.
Okay, let's put a pin in that for just a second because I really want to get into the specifics of vibe writing right after this. Let's take a brief break for a special message from our producer, Curt Robbins.
Hi, this is Curt Robbins. First, thanks for listening. I truly appreciate your support. I want to let you know that I'm currently accepting new clients. My rates are affordable, and I have more than 25 years of experience working for enterprise companies like Microsoft, Northrop Grumman, Oracle, PNC Bank, FedEx, USAA, and Wells Fargo, among many others. If you want to improve your IT documentation and communications, hire me. I deliver fast, know how to use AI to improve efficiency and accuracy, and love going the extra mile to satisfy my clients. Thank you for subscribing and listening. Back to you, Daphne and Fred.
Welcome back to the Technical Writing Success Podcast, where we help you get smarter than your competition.
Okay, so before the break, we were dismantling this myth of the lone writer. Now let's get into the solution that Moon proposes. He calls it vibe writing.
I have to admit, when I first saw the phrase vibe writing, I kind of rolled my eyes a little. It sounds very, California tech bro.
It does a little bit. The concept actually comes from the world of coding.
Right. It's a riff on vibe coding from an AI entrepreneur, Sabrina Romanoff.
Exactly. And to understand vibe writing, you really have to understand vibe coding first.
So for the non-programmers listening, how does that work?
Well, traditionally, coding is all about syntax. Where the semicolon goes, the specific command for a loop. If you get the syntax wrong, the whole thing breaks. Vibe coding flips that. Instead of writing line by line, you just describe the intent to the AI.
This is the story with her 10-year-old niece, right?
Yes. Her niece built 2 functional web apps without knowing the syntax. She focused on the architecture, the user flow, the vibe of the app. She was the architect, and the AI was the construction crew.
So Moon takes this idea and applies it to text. But how is that any different from just typing, write me a blog post about API security and hitting enter?
That is the million-dollar question. And vibe writing is not prompt and publish. It's a cycle, a recursive loop.
Okay, walk us through that cycle.
It starts with the human. You propose the intent. Let's say you're writing release notes. You don't just say write notes. You say, okay, I need release notes for this new authentication update. The tone should be reassuring because we're getting rid of an old feature, but firm about the deadline. Structure it with a summary first.
So you're setting the constraints, the rules of the game.
You are the director. The AI is the implementer. It generates a draft. Now, here's where the real writing happens. The human reads it and judges it. You might say, no, the tone in that second paragraph is too aggressive. Soften it. And you miss the detail about token expiration. Add that.
So you shift from being the person laying every single brick to the person inspecting the wall and telling the mason where to fix the mortar.
Perfect analogy. You move from sentence ownership, obsessing over every comma, to meaning ownership. You are responsible for the truth, the structure, the meaning. You just outsource the initial keystrokes.
I can see the appeal. But Moon breaks this down for 2 different kinds of people, the novice and the expert. Let's look at the novice first.
For the novice, the learner, he uses the analogy of training wheels.
Which implies they eventually come off.
Ideally, yeah. Think about a junior technical writer. They are often just paralyzed by the blank page. They have punctuation anxiety.
Oh, totally.
Vibe writing lowers that cognitive load. It gives them psychological safety.
Because you can fail privately.
Exactly. You can tell the AI, I want to explain how this widget works and see what it spits out. If it's bad, you just iterate. You're not submitting a terrible first draft to your manager. You're practicing in a sandbox.
He says confidence precedes competence.
Right. And over time, by reading and correcting the AI's output, the novice starts to internalize the patterns. They start to see, oh, that's how a good transition works.
Okay, so that's the junior writer. But what about the people listening who've been in the field for, 10 or 15 years? We don't need training wheels.
For the expert, the value changes completely. It's not about learning competence. It's about gaining bandwidth.
Getting more done in less time.
It's that, but it's also about stress testing your own ideas. An expert can use vibe writing to instantly generate counterarguments. You can say, here's my explanation. Now, where are the gaps? What would a confused user ask about this?
Huh. That's interesting. So you use the AI as a simulator for your audience.
Yes. You can prototype your documentation. You can try out 3 different tones in the time it used to take you to write one intro paragraph. You get to work at the speed of thought, not the speed of typing.
However, there's a trade-off. And I think this is the part that worries me.
You're thinking of the slow burn insight.
Exactly. That moment when you're fighting with a sentence, and because you're struggling with the words, you suddenly realize the logic is flawed, or the feature doesn't actually work the way you thought.
That friction is valuable. Writing is thinking. If you outsource the writing, do you also outsource the thinking?
Do we lose that deep understanding if we skip the struggle?
Moon admits it's a risk. He says that slow burn insight might be lost. But his argument is that for most professional tasks, the gain in speed and structure justifies it. Maybe you vibe write the routine stuff, but you handcraft the critical white paper.
It's a calculated risk, knowing when to use the autopilot and when to grab the wheel yourself.
Which brings us to his conclusion. He compares vibe writing to the progymnasmata. Right, it's a mouthful. They were these ancient preliminary exercises in rhetoric. Drills. Students would practice rephrasing myths to build their skills before they were allowed to give real speeches.
So AI is the new drill sergeant?
In a way, he's saying that using AI doesn't get rid of discipline. It just changes where we apply it. The discipline isn't in the typing anymore, it's in the judgment.
And that seems to be the ultimate takeaway. Your judgment has to be even better than before.
100%. If you can't tell good output from bad output, vibe writing will just help you produce garbage at the speed of light.
Which nobody wants. The human is the final quality control.
The AI is a mirror. It reflects your intent. If your intent is fuzzy, the writing will be fuzzy. It doesn't excuse shallow thinking. It exposes it.
So we're moving from the lone writer in the attic to the director in the editing suite.
A mirror and a motor. It helps you see your thoughts clearly and helps you move forward faster.
Well, there you have it. A new framework for the robot in the room. Not a replacement, but a collaborator that needs a very, very firm director. Thank you for listening to the Technical Writing Success Podcast from Curt Robbins, where we help you get smarter than your competition. Remember to like, subscribe, comment, and share. We'll see you next time.